What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be covering a heavily requested topic since the launch of Modern Warfare 3, and this is, what is the best way to take out streaks in Modern Warfare 3? Because this is a video that I covered in Modern Warfare 2, and it turned out, quite surprisingly, one of the battle rifles was the best option. That was the SO14 with the incendiary rounds. So I have had a lot of people asking me, is that still your best bet in Modern Warfare 3, or should you use something different? And it turns out you should. Additionally, throughout this video, it's also going to be a Stormender Breakdown. This is that brand new launcher that was added with Season 1, because it definitely has some very interesting uses and characteristics. However, I'm going to point out right up front, this is a terrible launcher for taking out the heavy aerial streaks. So streaks like the VTOL or the Chopper Gunner, for instance, you definitely don't want to be using the Stormender because it's going to take you roughly 12 shots to kill those. And with the really slow fire rate of this, that's going to take you about 15 seconds, which is way too long compared to what we are going to be looking at today, which is primarily LMGs. So we will be circling back to the Stormender toward the end of the video because it's great for some other streaks and I want to point out some really interesting things you can do with it. But for now, let's focus on taking out streaks like the VTOL or the Chopper Gunner. And the first thing to point out is I did an ammo breakdown video already where I went through all of the primary ammo types in the game, and one of the things I tested was shooting down streaks. And it turns out, just like last year with Modern Warfare 2, incendiary ammo is always going to be your best bet for taking out aerial streaks, even over armor-piercing rounds, which, if you just read the descriptions, it seems like armor-piercing rounds should be the best option, but that's just not the case. Incendiary rounds are your best bet, so that is going to be the primary focus first. And what I did here is, obviously, I first off tested my SO14 setup with those incendiary rounds and the 50-round drum mag in full auto. And unfortunately, against a VTOL in this game, it takes you 54 rounds, which means you have to get a reload in between, and that immediately rules this out as the best option for taking out VTOLs in Modern Warfare 3, even though it was definitely the best in Modern Warfare 2. So the next thing I did is I tested every single one of the Modern Warfare 3 LMGs versus the VTOL as well as the Chopper Gunner, just so there's a little bit of variation there. And these are the results that I found. With incendiary ammo, generally speaking against a VTOL, this is going to range between 46 and 57 rounds to take one down. However, it's not just about how many rounds it takes. We also have to factor in the rate of fire to see how fast we take it down. And when we do that, all of the LMGs are actually pretty good at taking out these heavier streaks. But the clear winner here is the MWIII. This will take a VTOL out with incendiary rounds in just 4.43 seconds, and with a Chopper Gunner, it only takes you 3.64 seconds. So this is obviously a super effective method of taking out streaks, especially because it has an excellent default magazine capacity at 100 rounds, and if you want, you could even bump that up to 200 rounds, which is excellent for shooting down multiple streaks. At the end of the day though, like I said, any of these LMGs combined with incendiary ammo are going to be great for taking out streaks. However, I did want to take this to the next level. Something I obviously didn't test in my ammo breakdown video is the anti-armor field upgrade. And with this, at least with LMGs, when you activate this field upgrade, it will load 60 anti-armor rounds into your gun. And with this, when I'm not using incendiary rounds or any other ammo type at all, I'm just using the anti-armor field upgrade, the MWIII against a Chopper Gunner is now just going to take 41 rounds to take that out, whereas if we look back to incendiary rounds, it took us 47 rounds to do the same. So these anti-armor rounds are actually a little bit better than incendiary rounds at taking out streaks on their own, but very interestingly, these also stack with the incendiary rounds when it comes to taking out streaks. Now with that MWIII using the incendiary ammo combined with anti-armor rounds, this takes us just 32 rounds to take out a Chopper Gunner, for a total time of 2.45 seconds. That is absolutely insane to be able to take such a high streak down in less than 2.5 seconds. But you can do that if you'd like. So if you are looking for the absolute fastest method of taking down a VTOL or a Chopper Gunner, this is actually going to be the combination of the anti-armor field upgrade and the incendiary ammunition. Now in saying that, unfortunately, it's not all that practical because typically when somebody calls a streak in and you're going to be switching to that class setup that's designed to take down streaks, you don't want to have to take the time to find cover, load those anti-armor rounds into your gun, which is going to take a few seconds with an LMG, and then start shooting at your target. Instead, you generally just want to spawn in and immediately start putting rounds on that target. And in that case, if we factor in the reload time, these anti-armor rounds really aren't going to be your best bet in the vast majority of situations you'll find yourself in. Instead, you're better off just using that MWIII with incendiary ammunition, and also with these, you'll want to use the biggest magazine possible. And you simply spawn in and start putting those rounds on target. You'll take those down within just a few seconds. And honestly, you really can't go wrong with any of the LMGs in this game combined with incendiary rounds. It's just that the MWIII is technically the best. And for me, this is going to be the setup that I use for taking out streaks from now on. I decided I wanted to use the 200 round magazine on this, because what if the enemies have multiple streaks in the air and you don't want to have to get a reload in between those streaks? It's nice to have 200 rounds at your fingertips. Now, to go alongside that setup, we're going to be using the engineer vest so that we can mark those streaks and you can kind of see them a little bit through walls, so it's just a bit easier to find that streak if it's a bit hard to see. You also could put the anti-armor rounds on here. Like I said, I don't think that's all that practical. You're better off just spawning in and shooting, but if you really want to, you can use those anti-armor rounds as your field upgrade. And then on top of this, the key perks here are obviously hijacked IFF strobe. That's basically cold-blooded, so that just means these streaks won't be able to target you if they're AI powered, and if they are player controlled, they won't get that big diamond on you that really highlights exactly what your position is. And then I also topped this off with mag holster since we have access to that second piece of gear, and that's just in case I need to get a quick reload in. I have the ability to do that. So there we go. That's going to be my anti-streak setup from here on out. Now let's talk a little bit more about that Stormender launcher, because like I said, it's terrible at taking down like VTOLs or chopper gunners because it's going to take you about 15 seconds rather than just like 3 or 4 seconds. But one thing I did want to point out, if you happen to have that Stormender on you and your primary weapon's like an SMG or something that's just not going to be effective against something like a chopper gunner, the Stormender is still great at suppressing these streaks. So in the case of something like a VTOL, for instance, every time you shoot it with the Stormender, it disables it from firing at your teammates for that 5 seconds. So in this situation right here, I'm not using cold-blooded, so that VTOL should be able to just target and shoot me, but you'll notice every time I shoot it, it just sort of sits there for 5 seconds. And then after that 5 seconds is up, it will start shooting at me again until the moment I shoot it, and then again, it's disabled for 5 seconds. So while this sucks at taking out a VTOL, it is effective at suppressing that VTOL while your teammates shoot at it, for instance. And on top of this, when it comes to a player-controlled streak, with something like the chopper gunner, this is what it looks like from that player's perspective. It doesn't prevent them from flying around or firing their gun or firing their missiles. However, every time you shoot it, it will kind of obstruct their vision for a brief period of time, and it might be enough to throw them off a little bit, especially if you just keep shooting it over and over again, while your teammates are hopefully trying to shoot it with regular guns that deal actual damage to it. Additionally, just for another example, this is what it looks like against a Wheelson, and as you can see, this actually disables you from firing or moving the Wheelson for that 5-second duration after being hit by this, so it's actually quite an effective suppression counter for that, but again, not so great at actually taking it out. However, the Stormender is incredible against the smaller streaks in the game. Like the UAV, it'll take you 2 shots to take down a UAV, and you really only have to shoot kind of near it. You don't even have to be perfectly on point with your shot. You can just blast up in the general direction of the UAV a couple times, and it'll be gone. Then with a counter UAV, that just takes 1 shot to take those down. But I mean, you can take a counter UAV down with anything really easily. Next up, something really interesting with the Stormender that's very difficult to accomplish with any other gun, even though it's technically possible. You can shoot down cruise missiles with this. And again, you don't have to be 100% flawlessly on target with this. You just have to be pretty close to that cruise missile, and it will take it out of the air, which is incredible. Then let's take a look at some of the turrets. With the Guardian, if someone calls that in and you shoot it with the Stormender, it will disable it for several seconds, but it doesn't immediately destroy it with 1 shot. Instead, it takes 3 full shots to take one out. Or like I said, if you want to just disable it for a few seconds so you can cross a lane, you can also do that. It's a similar story with the SAM turret. If you shoot it once with the Stormender, it will disable it for several seconds, but it'll still be alive, and it takes 3 total shots to destroy it. Next, for the Sentry turret, it does the same thing where if you shoot it, it will disable it for a short period of time. Just in case you're wondering, that period of time is 5 seconds total that it disables these streaks for. However, in this case, it actually takes you a total of 10 shots to take out a Sentry gun with the Stormender, and therefore it's not really that great at taking out Sentry turrets, but it is excellent for just disabling them temporarily. After that, I tested against the Mosquito drone, and that's a simple 1-shot kill against a Mosquito drone. However, against a Swarm, it doesn't work. Even though it's just a bunch of Mosquito drones, I think they're flying a little too high or something. In either case, I was completely unable to hit any of those Swarm drones with my Stormender, so this doesn't counter that at all as far as I can tell. And that's pretty much it as far as the effectiveness of the Stormender. I guess it also works for like cluster mines, for instance. You can easily shoot them and destroy them with the Stormender, but you can typically do that with just about any gun. However, there's a bit more utility that you can gain with the Stormender, and this is against the field upgrades. If somebody calls in a throwable field upgrade outside of an ammunition-style box, you destroy them in 1 hit, and very interestingly with a trophy system, if you shoot the trophy system directly, or at least very close to directly, like a little bit off target but still almost a direct shot, it will destroy a trophy system in just 1 shot. However, if you're far enough off target on that trophy system, then the trophy will actually block your Stormender shot. So you do have to be at least reasonably precise if you're trying to use this against trophy systems, and if you do, this is excellent for taking those out. And then for basically all the other field upgrades that you throw down, like a signal jammer or the ACS for instance, it takes just one shot with the Stormender to take those out. So overall, while the Stormender isn't so good at actually taking down the big streaks, it's amazing against those smaller streaks, as well as field upgrades and enemy equipment. I didn't mention that either. Claymores, things like that, really easy to take out with the Stormender. Now, just in case you were wondering, another thing I wanted to point out with the new Stormender launcher is it deals literally 1 damage to enemy players. So this is not the type of weapon you ever want to be using against enemy players if you're trying to kill them. Of course, you can EMP them, and this is the effect that they see when they get shot by a Stormender. But I mean, if you have the time to shoot them with the Stormender, you probably have the time to just shoot them with a regular gun and actually kill them, rather than just disabling their heads-up display for a short period of time. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on the best methods of taking out streaks in Modern Warfare 3. Now, of course, I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this in the comments down below, specifically with that Stormender launcher. How are you guys feeling about the addition of this? Do you like the addition of this very interesting and unique launcher? And do you find yourself using it at all, or do you think you will use it now that you've watched this video? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.